Welcome to Episode 7 of the Schaefer Creative Podcast. This is the 4th edition of Conversations with Creatives. Schaefer Creative is a product of my family of 6, all 6 pursuing careers in painting, illustration, animation, photography, writing, and filmmaking. This is our place to showcase our art, document our growth, and teach what we learned. We hope you will find value in learning from our artistic convictions, our mistakes and successes, and the guidance we share as a family as we prepare our children for careers in the arts. I'm Animation Director Todd Schaefer, the father, and your host on this edition of the Schaefer Creative Podcast. My guest in this edition is a character animator who is only in his early 20s, but he animates like a seasoned pro. His name is Samuel Cabanac. This is part 1 of my conversation with Sam. So what I'd like to do with you, Sam, is I'm really interested in your formation, where you came from, and the studies you got at Vieux Montreal. You're such a young guy, fresh out of school, but you animate like you got 10, 12 years of experience under your belt. You're like this enigma to everybody who knows you. So let's start with your origin story.
I'm coming from a pretty creative family. My dad paints. He's a lawyer, but he paints a lot, and he's really great at it. My mom, it's not so much in the art industry, but she's creative as well. She starts projects, and she likes to design gardens, and she has this vision on everything she start and accomplish, and I feel that it's a good motivation for a young person that starts in life and tries stuff as well. So, and my siblings are all good at drawing. So that's good.
Really?
Yeah,
so, wow.
Yeah, they draw. And
so that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of practice. I started young, and I never felt the need to stop. I think it's just natural. So it was a natural choice all my life. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. So it's just a natural. It's like breathing.
I
we
think
draw,
so.
You know.
I think so, and I'm the oldest, like with my twin, of a family of 5 kids, and I feel like it's just the need of like getting out of the crowd, kind of just getting your own thing. Like soon in life, you want to stand out from the group, and I think art was my way to do it. For my brother, it's writing, but he wants to tell stories. So he's in the movie. He wants to get in the movie industry.
Okay.
And my sister wants to be a lawyer, and so we're all a nice bucket, like a nice pack.
So you have the full production pack, because you've got
Yes,
the artist
exactly.
and the lawyer.
My parents did a good job on that. Yeah.
Who were your influences as a kid, artistically?
Oh, as a kid, I had like I think my generation was like watching a lot of mangas show, like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And like all of that kind of stuff. And I started by drawing mangas a lot.
Wow,
and
I would have never guessed.
Yeah, no, I think it's the generation thing. And I bought a lot of books about drawing mangas and drawings anatomy and drawings. I wanted to draw and know how to draw well fast. But to get into animation, I think I started to really like animation when I was 13 or 14. I was going a lot to the library, and I just went through all the books in the art section. Every day, like every weekend, I was going there with my sisters and brothers, and we were reading. And one day I felt on this book called Art Ludique, and it was mentioning a lot of 2D artists around the world, and one of the artists was Glenn Keane. And I fell in love instantly with his line, with his message, with his path. And I said, yep, I want to work into animation. So I'm just going to wait for this school to offer me that kind of path, and I'm gonna do it. But now I'm just going to concentrate on drawing. Yeah. Great. I was never pushing. I was just drawing like stuff I liked. I copied a lot. I copied characters from books. I would do like posters, where I would just copy the character I would draw like animals. I liked animals a lot. Basic stuff, really. Just having
you
fun.
must have done a lot of stuff from life.
Yes,
Gestures, because
yes.
your gesture is very intuitive.
Not so much drawing about life, but I was experiencing life a lot. I was, like I said, growing with like 4 siblings. You're just facing a lot of stuff. Like I grew up also on a farm, so not so much TV, just really jumping, running, jumping in the mud and everything, growing in the forest. So I was experiencing a lot in my youth, and I think that's kind of a good tool to be inspired from. Yeah, I think.
That's interesting. I had never thought about that.
I'm trying to express myself in English. It's not easy, but I'm trying.
It's coming across well.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
So, as a teenager, as you were getting more serious about animation,
yes.
What were your decisions, and what guided you into that?
As a teenager, so I think it all started when I went at the Cegep Vieux Montreal. That's really when I went serious on animation, and I started comparing myself to others and like watching a lot of videos, reading about other animators like masters like Glenn Keane, of course, like Sergio Pablo, like James Baxter, the Nine Old Men, Richard Williams, all these like big guys, and I started to feel like a good artist know he's good. Like when I was not college, like high school, I was good in the art course. The course we call it art plastique, and it's really easy. You just like copy and you draw like flower and you got 100%. So I knew I wasn't that bad, but when I went into Cegep, I feel it's the first time I faced this kind of talent, and we were all different, but we all had a message, and we all had a will to strike for the best. So I think that's really when I felt, I'm at the right place.
So you felt like you finally had some competition,
yes,
and you were among peers rather than just ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, I think so. And my teachers were good. So they were part of the industry. They taught me how to be organized, which I'm still not. They taught me how to see differently, experience life differently through a frame, through just watching people, how they move, how they talk, how they behave, all that kind of stuff. So that's really part of it.
So the Cegep system is a 2-year system, and just for those who don't know, it starts at 12th grade. There's no 12th grade in the Quebec high school system. You go straight from there to Cegep, which is sort of like a junior college in the United States, and you do it for 2 years.
3 years.
3 years.
You can do it in 2 years, but you don't end up professional, kind of. So you can work after 3 years. You can get a job and really work.
It's sort of like an advanced trade school.
Yes. So if you want to do only 2 years, you got to go to university, and that's it. So I chose the 3 years because I'm not good at studying, and I wanted to get this done as soon as possible. I wanted to work. I wanted to experience. So
So, we've gotten seen a lot of students come out of the Cegep Vieux Montreal quite advanced, beyond our expectations, right? So when you went into that first year, did they start you in animation right away, or did they develop you into drawing first, or did they do both?
They started by just teaching the basics, not really animation per se, but like often we see students that want to draw and are motivating by their parents saying, "You're good at drawing, go follow that path." And too often it's maybe not that the right path. Maybe they want to tell stories and write instead of drawing. So I think the strategy of the teachers is really to separate the really motivated ones to the ones that are maybe not in the right way. And by this, they are teaching Photoshop, they are teaching perspective courses and anatomy courses, much more than animation. So they want to see if you can
need
draw.
the foundation. If you can't draw, you're not going to be able to animate very well.
Yes, exactly.
Sure.
You can draw, but I mean, it might not have the appeal of the one that knows his anatomy. Yeah.
So what I find is that students, when they come in to any kind of school from high school, their drawing tends to be more representational of what they're seeing, like their photograph, rather than what you need in animation, which is structural.
Yeah.
You need to know how the bones go together. You need to know how the muscles work. You need to know how the thing works as an organism.
Yeah.
And in LA, one of the guys they always taught was George Bridgman.
Oh yeah, George Bridgman. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So his stuff. He came from the Art Students League, but he taught how to create a human form mechanically.
He's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so structured and so easy to follow. I think. Yeah. Books are amazing.
Yeah. So he's my first go-to when I'm teaching my kids and anybody else who comes to me for advice. I'm like, you got to start with Bridgman because you got to know how it's moving.
Yeah, that's a good one. And also, like for animation, I think other books, if I can quote ones,
Sure.
would be Animator Survival Kit, of course.
That's a standard.
Drawn to Life by Walt Stanchfield. You got Illusion of Life, of course, by Ollie Johnson and Frank Thomas. And so many great ones, new ones. Like you feel like the old masters have done everything, but really youth is more inclined of knowing codes. But you have this approach of Normand Lemay, who wrote with his wife.
Grizz.
Yeah, Grizz. Norman Grizz, yeah. But he had this approach, really simple one with codes and with big titles and with like just
100 Tuesday tips.
Symbols, 101 Tuesday tips. And they just launched a new one.
Yeah, volume 2.
Yeah. So that's a good one. I think you should have everything.
It's a very helpful, quick summary. It's like a Cliff's Notes.
Yeah, and it's a perfect final touch to a great collection of books, starting with the Masters and with this. Yeah.
Richard Williams' book.
Yes.
How did that fit in your? Did they give you that at school?
Yes. They forced us to have it at school, and they forced us to read some parts of it. But I really started digging in it after my 3 years at school. I don't know why. I think it was. I had 10 courses in the session, and I feel like that was a lot, so I wanted to escape that in the weekend, so I was just taking time, always focusing on taking time for myself. I think it's good. So reading was not my passion in the weekend.
You were a deficient student at Cegep Vieux Montreal.
Let's say that.
Okay.
And it was really when I was starting to grow by myself, not with not the help of the teachers and with the parents, that I started reading and really appreciate every moment, every words of this man.
What do you think about talent? Are you born with talent? Is it genetic? Is it hard work? Is it?
No, I think talent is a word that makes us feel comfortable more than anything. I think it's just a matter of practice. I think talent is like the way you see stuff. Maybe people see it differently than you, but then you just take from it and create out of it, and it's not a superpower. It's not something that, like you said, you're born with. It's really a matter of practice and a matter of how much you like it. Yeah, how much you're willing to sacrifice for your craft.
Yeah, I mean, I have students come to me a lot, and they're talented. They that's what they've been taught. It's sort of indoctrinated into them. You're a talented person, and then, like you said, it sort of relaxes you, makes you comfortable with yourself.
Yeah,
and you're not going to go that extra mile to work hard, which is what you need to be doing.
Yes, yes, and I feel in this generation particularly, children's and like adults incoming are so like parents are easy with them and teachers are easy with them and too easy. That much then when you're going to the work environment, you're facing a wall and you're like, oh, it's been easy for me all this time and now I have to work and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not making an impact. I'm not like striving the best that I can, but it's really not your fault. It's the way you've been treated. It's the way
you've been nurtured a certain way with a certain expectation.
Yes, way too much.
And then the world, you get in the world, it's like, hold on, this is completely different.
Yeah, and you're like a little bird out of his cage and like facing the real world, and you're like, I don't think I can do this, and you feel ashamed about yourself, and it's really too hard. So I feel start to work, and parents stop treating your kids like they are the special ones.
Right.
They're just kids, and they want to learn.
There's a place for encouragement, but I think there's got to be a way that we can encourage our kids without indoctrinating them into the talent mindset.
Yes. Guide them. Yeah. Don't tell them what to do. Guide them. Yeah.
So now you're at school. Did you finish your own film? Did they give you an assignment to do your own animated film?
You mean at my years at the Cegep?
Yeah.
Yes. So every student have to end up with a film, a 30-second film, short film, and
I'd love to see yours.
Oh yeah, you didn't see it?
I haven't seen it.
It's okay. Looking back to
I'm sure it's more than okay. Yes, you're going to advance. You're going to grow.
It's
been what, 2 years, 3 years?
2 years. Yeah,
2 years?
A little bit more than 2 years.
Gosh.
And so every student have to come up with a movie at the end of this 3 years, starting with nothing basically, blossom of an idea, and at the end you have to come up with a full length movie, all done A to Z by yourself. So storyboard, first of all writing it, character designs, storyboards, and then animation, and then cleanup, and then coloring and backgrounds and everything, and even music. You don't have to do it yourself. I think they hire someone from another school to work with you. But you have this mindset first of a character designer and all the way through director. So you have to direct your own music and so basically having a movie done by yourself.
That's a fantastic program.
Oh yeah.
You had a better program than Glenn Keane, and he went to Cal Arts.
Oh, that's good to hear.
You haven't heard his story?
Yeah, I heard it many times, but I feel like ended up like with the better program. I feel like I should be better than what I am.
You're going to get better. You'll get better.
Thank you.
But the benchmark is pretty high.
It is. Thank you.
So how did you get your first job?
My first job, I ended up at the end of this 3 years with a movie that people liked, and Pascal Blais was one of them, and he saw it and offered me an internship, a paid internship at the studio, at Pascal Blais studio. And he said, I think we were like on a Friday, and he said, yeah, you're starting on Monday. And I was like, all right, cool, I'm ready to do this. So that's how I got my first gig, and I've been working there for 2 years.
And what was the first thing he had you doing?
First thing, so I was a cleanup artist under his animation.
You were doing cleanup?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was doing cleanup for, I think, 3 weeks, and then he saw my optimistic perspective on animation and my passion of it, and he said, why don't you try on animating this little character that is doing his own exciting thing. And I was like, yeah, whatever, I can totally do it. So I tried it, and he liked it, and then he gave me another more important character, and then many more little characters, and at the end I started animating main characters. So start at the bottom of the ladder, and then make your way up there. Yeah.
Something that they taught you or trained you to do at Cegep gave you and like Justine and Val something that brought you over a plateau that most students who are coming out of school constantly hit. and that is being fluid and bringing personality and acting into your stuff. Because I noticed that with you guys. There's acting and thinking in terms of what is the performance here? What is the intent of this scene? Thinking about the beginning, middle, and end, and setting yourself up, knowing where you're coming from and where you're going. Most kids, even coming out of animation programs, don't have that. They're still struggling with the physics and the basic mechanics of animation. But you guys came out, like you had 5 years advance on everybody.
Yes, the teachers, like I said, were really good. They were like Pierre, like Luc, like I can name a few others. They were really much thinking about character first and telling your story. And if the story wasn't good enough, don't start animating yet. Just wait for the story. Of course, there's the problem of the time, and the session have to finish one day.
Yeah.
But they were really pushing us on finding the really good story and a motivating one with characters that were interesting, not just like superheroes and no personality. Just try to find something to tell. And my approach is find a character, find a story, and the character would just blossom through the story. So it's the same thing for a scene. The character have his own personality, the scene have his own thing. So it's really a matter of, the movement is important, but what motivates the movement is really the thing.
Right.
And if I can quote like everybody else, Ollie Johnson, animate what the character's thinking, not what he's doing.
It. Exactly. Yeah, that is not being taught.
No,
I can tell you that.
I don't think. But somehow, with a lot of videos and a lot of reading, I got that. So I think it's important to share it.
Once you make that switch and you realize that that's the thing, you've got a thinking character. It completely changes the way you do animation.
Oh yeah,
it's entirely different.
And you want to dig through so many stories through that character because it's part of you.
Yeah,
and you're really an actor through this.
I mean, the classic example of that was, maybe you're familiar with this, it was Disney's memo to the animators about Mickey and about thinking. What is he doing? He enters a house, he goes and takes off his coat, he opens a door, and he explains it in such a way so that you're seeing this, understanding the scene from his mind and anticipating things before he gets to do them. And so you have to communicate that love, that disconnect, right? We often say they're Mickey Mousing a scene, but that's not in reality what's happening.
Right.
Mickey Mousing a scene is just doing one thing at a time and focusing on that one thing.
But the human brain is doing this.
Right.
Like, I want to drink water now. I'm going to stretch for the water and then drink it. I'm not just doing it because my body feels it's good. I want to do it. So I'm going to look at the bottle and take the bottle and then... Exactly. So it's just a natural way of doing things that you have to show in your animation, I think.
I would say it's like the overlap and follow through of the mind.
Oh yeah.
Right? The mind and body, there's an overlap and follow through.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not all at the same time.
Yes.
All the animators do it at the same time, and you just try to work to get them to. He knows that action so well. He doesn't need to watch himself do that action. He's thinking about the next thing. Right?
Yes.
And suddenly your animation becomes transcendent. It transcends the drawing and the moving character and the moving drawing images. It becomes alive. That's when it becomes alive.
Oh, yeah. I agree on that. You're the master. I totally agree.
But there's a lot of animation schools that, I see the kids coming out and it's just like they were not adequately prepared by their programs to do the most basic animation tasks. So they go through this program and then they come out and all they can do are simple little things that maybe, phone games or something like that, animating things, if that.
When I'm saying at the end of the 3 years we have to come up with a movie, because you have to learn from zero to everything basically in these 3 years. The first year is really to learn the basics. The second is to solidify what you learned, and the third one is to really apply everything. But your movie is done, like we say, in 3 years, but it's really like in 6 months. So you have to push everything in this 6 months and come up with your own characters and come up with your own story, and then I want to animate a robot. So I want to learn how to animate a robot, not how to animate like a sack of flour or a sack or whatever, a dog. I want to animate a robot. So you don't have enough experience to first animate your robot, but you don't have, I don't think in 3 years, with a lot of other things, like you're young, you're growing, you have friends, you want to hang out, you want to blah, blah, blah. 3 years is not enough. So I feel like we come up of the Cegep with an experience of a movie, but not with, I don't know, I think we don't have enough experience even in 3 years. I think we would need like 10 years to really...
Yeah, I mean, you get that on the job. I mean, I had nothing when I came out of school. You know, I taught myself animation in my program. But it's interesting to me, your program, I never realized this until now, because I've always been, what is the magic of that program? And I think it's that they teach you top down rather than bottom up.
Okay.
I think most programs teach bottom up. That's why they start with the bouncing ball and the flour sack and how you do this and how you do that. Because if you go from the bottom up, then you don't know why you're doing anything.
Oh.
If you're starting at the top, coming down, and you're doing the film, and you're thinking about character and story and motivation, that is giving you a context to make all the other stuff meaningful. And so you never have a point in your formation where you're doing something just to have movement. You're doing something to act.
Yes.
Right off the bat.
Yes.
And that's a revelation to me. I think, the secret.
That's good. That's good.
that I was looking for.
Yeah, I think it would need me like 30 more years in the business to really point that. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Because if you're focused on just the minutia, you can get the minutia, and it's almost dumbing down the educational approach and making the student feel like this is really a hard thing to do. No, you don't need all your faculties trained on making a ball bounce. Right? You have enough reservoir in your brain, I think, to learn while you're also acting and thinking about performance and acting and the why rather than just the how and what.
Yes.
That's what I think is
that's a good one.
Is a good point.
Yeah, next podcast I'm going to say that. Quoting that exactly.
Good, you'll have to because I'll forget it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
All right, so you worked at Pascal Blay for
2 years.
2 years.
Yes.
And we did the project with Warner Brothers, which will remain nameless. But you were the first one to get a glowing review from the directors at Warner Brothers, which blew everybody away.
Me too.
It didn't blow me away because I saw your work and I thought, wow, this is fantastic. But
thanks.
You know, that's just a testimony to your hard work and dedication to your craft.
Yeah, I was really motivated, like blindly motivated by this project. I think there's a lot of, it's still, there's a lot of potential in these characters and the story, and I really wanted so badly to be part of it, so I put my soul into it. Yeah. And I grew out of this project a lot, but I had to start somewhere, and gladly it went well.
That's right. And I think EduCalCall may have helped you along the way.
Yes.
We did a bunch of projects.
Yes, and you were the director on the EduCalCall, so you gave me great advice.
Yeah, and Bernard was there to help you.
Yeah. And we spent a lot of hours, like past midnight, on this project, and I learned a lot on consistency and with the different, how do you say that, steps of approval.
Yeah.
Starting from the really rough and then tightening it up a bit and then maybe coming back to the really rough and never giving up, just give them what they want.
Right.
Because that's the job.
That's the other thing students struggle with is the fact that they're so precious with what they do. It's hard for them to let go and say, okay, that's not going to be in the film. Or the project, I've got to throw it all out and start over.
Yeah.
Right. But that's critical. That rewriting kind of thing in the animation is necessary for your growth and for the advancement.
And that's exactly what we were talking about on like students that go in the job and feel ashamed about their work. They feel like if they don't strike it right the first time, they're bad. Right. They're not. That's a job. That's a thing.
That's right. Yeah. It's like writing. You write a story. How many drafts do you write that story with? You do your first one, and the first one is awful.
There you
but
go.
At least it gets you someplace.
Yes.
But then you get to go back and you change it and make it better. You improve upon it, and it's constantly an improvement upon it.
And I heard so many stories about Untitled men and people that are working in the industry doing over and over and over again a scene. Like, I think the best example is Miyazaki, Hayao Miyazaki, on his films. They're so perfect, and that's because they were trying to strive for the best of the West. And yeah, they did it. So I think you can't achieve the close to perfection if you don't fail before.
Right.
Yeah.
And to do that kind of thing it's almost like an immersion.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk a lot in Quebec about language immersion, English immersion, French immersion, in order to... We have the same sort of thing in animation. You make your best growth, I think, when you enter a period of complete immersion. Where
There you go.
You're doing it morning, noon, night, and you're just focused on trying to get something out. And of course, the advertising world demands that of you sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Because of the deadlines and the
That was
constant
crazy.
changes and this and that. And,
Yes.
but it can be such a growing experience if you do it right.
Yes, I agree on that. And yeah, just really think about your art as being something to please someone else when you're working, so that you don't feel ashamed when you're not bad, but when you're not achieving what they want you to achieve. It's just normal. So that was really a big wall to break, or just going on the side of it. We usually compare our career to a stairs.
Yeah.
And that was a big step for me, a really big one. So yeah.
Sometimes it's the stairs, and then it drops off. It falls into a hole, and then you got to climb out and get back on the stairs.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how I felt. But I went through it, and it's life.
Yeah.
You're gonna go through it. No, don't bother like crying or anything. It's life.
It's part
Take
of
time.
Any art form, any kind of creative thing has those layers of change and constant readjustment, which are sometimes painful, but
exactly,
it's
the way it is. Yeah, and you're gonna end up bigger, better, and yes,
even if you don't agree with it.
Right.
Because the bottom line, at the end of the day, you're not paying for it.
Yes, exactly. But you're learning. Yeah, you're learning.
This was part 1 of my conversation with Samuel Cabanac. I will continue my conversation with Sam in part 2 next week. Looking ahead, I've been lining up a treasure trove of great guests for the new year. Michael Greenholt is an animation supervisor who's worked at Warner Brothers Animation, and he's currently at Disney TV. Never heard of him? We'll wait until this time next year. I've also lined up oil painter John Ebersberger from Annapolis, Maryland, Phil Lockerbie, a character animator in Montreal, and Disney animation legend Michael Surrey. That's right, Hakuna Matata. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Schaefer Creative Podcast. You will find the show notes and more information about Schaefer Creative at schaefercreative.studio. Music is by Lee Rosevier.